I want to tell you about a U.S. citizen who was detained while protesting outside one of the immigration buildings in San Francisco.
Really? That's all they were doing, was exercising their American right to protest? If you've ever wondered why this unladylike behavior persists from the trans community,
Well, everyone, bro.
allow me a moment of your time to show you why I think that not only are these things continuing to happen, but also why they appear to be on the rise from trans women. And also allow me to tell you why I think some of these news stations need to be legit shut down.
Yeah, the protester was released earlier today, but now questions about the legality of this detention are beginning to come out.
I think I'm having some questions too.
ABC 7 News reporter Luz Pena spoke to her. She's live in the newsroom with what she told her. Luz.
Yes, Amanda, this detention took place outside of San Francisco's 630 Sansom Street's immigration building.
Hold on a second, Luz, if that's your real name. I'm not liking this accent that I'm hearing. I'm feeling a little bit of bias coming on, and I think ICE may have missed one, if you know what I mean.
Where small groups of protesters have been organizing for months, rallying against ICE detentions of undocumented immigrants. After 24 hours in custody, San Francisco resident Angelica Guerrero was released.
What did they do to this woman, Angelica?
An emotional moment for her family and community advocates.
Without a phone call, without being able to contact a lawyer, anything, they could have shipped me to Louisiana.
Wait a second, you said you were going to talk to Angelica, and now this man is clearly stealing Angelica's airtime.
Nobody would have even known about it.
Angelica is a transgender woman.
Okay, that's quite enough, because if that really is Angelica, Angelica is not anything with the word woman in it.
That ain't no woman. It's a man.
I feel like I'm being gaslit right now. But then again, what do I know? Maybe being locked up will change a girl.
Sitting that jail down there about done rot to death.
We listen and we don't judge.
She described confusion among federal agents after her arrest.
Okay, if that really is Angelica, I'm sure that she causes confusion everywhere that she goes. You cannot blame this one on the federal agents.
She was transferred to multiple facilities around the Bay.
They took you from 630 Sansom to Santa Rita.
And those holding cells in Santa Rita jail are barbaric. Santa Rita jail has been prosecuted many times for their subhuman and miserable conditions. The walls where I was meant to sleep were covered in feces and blood.
Would you describe them as not being fit for a lady? Would you say that they definitely weren't up to the standards of a girly girl like the one that stands before us now? And can I mention that I'm feeling like I'm being punked right now? Let me look under my laptop and make sure that Ashton Kutcher isn't there. Nope, apparently that's Angelica, and we're going with it. She's a woman, ladies and gentlemen. We listen and we don't judge. She's a lady. Whoa, 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 she's a lady.
These images from a video posted on many websites show the moment a federal agent turned and tackled Angelica and arrested her while she was protesting with a small group outside an immigration building in the city.
Well, a man should never put his hands on a woman in such a manner. That alone is grounds for a lawsuit.
I didn't hear any, rights being read or anything like that.
Angelica's parents and community advocates said they spent hours trying to find her after Wednesday's arrest. They finally located her Thursday morning.
Was she maybe on the men's side? Just a wild guess.
How ICE behaved and how they're behaving and how they're moving forward is unjust because it's not just our child. There's many other people that are being impacted by this.
Angelica said she was charged on Thursday with misdemeanors for interfering with federal agents and destruction of property.
Now, I'm going to get serious for a minute here. If all that she was doing was exercising her First Amendment right as an American to protest, she shouldn't be getting charged with anything. You know what? They won me over. Hashtag free Angelica.
The senior counsel at the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund said federal agents violated multiple laws.
Federal agents mad because I'm flagrant. Tap my cell and my phone in the basement. All right, that was a horrible rendition of that song. I really shouldn't have interrupted for that. It's just what popped in my head. I'm sorry. I'll do better moving forward.
buildings.
It's a First Amendment right to protest, and the sidewalk is a public space that's traditionally allocated for that. There is also a Fourth Amendment right that protects you from unreasonable searches, seizures, and violence by the police.
Not getting access to make phone calls was also a violation.
With a federal arrest, you do have a right to make 3 phone calls.
They're limiting my freedom of speech the same way that they want to limit all of our freedoms of speech.
We contacted ICE and have not received a response. Angelica is said to be back in court in September. For now, she said she was mandated to stay away from federal buildings.
She's been mandated to stay away from all federal buildings. That seems odd and uncalled for. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Before we go any further, I'm just going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. We're already at 90,000. Thank you all very much. When you hit the subscribe button, make sure you click the bell, select all notifications so that you know every time I upload. Now, the reason that I wanted to talk about this story is because, like I said, I think there is a reason that these things continue to happen, and I do want to get into that, but first I want to see what maybe the other side of the story would be, because it seems awfully weird to me that our new friend Angelica here not only got arrested, but is facing charges and has been mandated to stay away from all federal buildings until all of this clears up. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. Just for protesting? Kind of weird. So let's go to Fox News and see if they may be able to offer something that the local news left out.
More on all those stories ahead, but first, another disturbing attack on ICE officers. A mob assaulting 4 agents in San Francisco, even threatening their families.
Wait a second. Is that our new lady friend Angelica? I would recognize those middies anywhere. Middies, you might ask? Man titties. Middies. But to get serious, zoom in, zoom out, side by side, jiggle them up and down ever so slightly. Okay, never mind, that might be a bit too much. I don't want to get caught up in a he too situation here. But all jokes aside, I think we've got a match. Maybe not a set, but definitely a match.
Christina Coleman is live in Los Angeles with more on this. Christina.
John, dozens of protesters rallied outside of San Francisco's federal court building.
Okay, 2 things I want to point out really quick. Christina does not have an accent. I'm liking that. Secondly, I want everybody to take note of the hair, because I think we're going to get the tea. Because if I know one thing, it's that a woman does not go out of her way to curl her hair like this to not give up the dirt.
Waiting for the release of a person who DHS identified as Adrian Guerrero, a U.S. citizen who federal officials say assaulted ICE officers and threatened law enforcement by saying, quote, "I'm going to go after your family and I'm going to stab you." Guerrero, who identifies as a woman and goes by the name Angie, was charged with assault and destruction of federal property after allegedly slashing the tire of a government vehicle.
Oh, Ange, you've got some explaining to do.
DHS says it happened on Wednesday when a group of about 15 to 20 violent anti-ICE rioters in San Francisco assaulted, grabbed, punched, and pepper sprayed ICE agents who were conducting targeted immigration enforcement in San Francisco, in that city. DHS says they surrounded and assaulted 4 federal agents. DHS says, quote, "While standing at arm's length from an officer, Guerrero made repeated threats stating, quote, "I'm going to F you up. I'm going to go after your family and I'm going to stab you." DHS says Guerrero was also in possession of a black knife and patterned headscarf during this incident. Guerrero was later granted bail and surrounded by supporters after being released and had this to say about the situation.
I'm good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's our new friend Angie. Why are they calling Angie Adrian Guerrero? I'm so confused. I thought this was a woman we were dealing with here. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's too late. I know a woman when I see one, and Angelica, aka Angie, is definitely a woman, and I will not hear otherwise. But outside of that, kind of a lot to unpack here, because we just heard on the other news station that Angelica had done nothing but protest on the sidewalk. And now we're hearing she assaulted ICE officers, she threatened law enforcement and their families, she slashed the tires of a federal vehicle, and She still had the knife when everything was said and done. Angelica, madam, none of this is very becoming of a young woman. And why didn't that other news station tell us any of this?
Despite the brutality and repression that the federal government is placing on this city.
Are we going to address your own brutality at all, Angelica? Or are we just pretending that that didn't happen?
My city, the city I was born in.
Okay, I keep hearing this from these types, and I do have to mention it. I don't know if these people don't understand that my city is just an expression. You don't own the city, you don't run the city, you don't make the laws in the city. Judging by the way you look, you probably don't even contribute taxes. Also, I noticed that none of these people ever mention that they lost their job while they were in jail. Do you know why that is? Because they probably didn't have jobs to begin with. So when these people go on these rants about my city, which you've heard happening in Washington, D.C. and Chicago, and even L.A., people will be like, this is my city. No, it's actually not your city. And the other thing I want to address here is I keep asking this and nobody can give me an actual answer. Maybe you guys can give me one in the comments, but do these people really think that if they kick up enough fuss, that if they make enough trouble, that ICE will just go away and leave their city alone? Because that's not going to happen, even according to ICE themselves. That's not going to happen.
We're going to continue to do that, and they can take that one to the bank and cash it.
I get what you're saying, but I think it's cute that you assume that these people have bank accounts to cash a check in the first place.
And as for that attack on ICE agents in San Francisco last week and those allegedly involved, Guerrero now faces a maximum penalty of 1 year in prison and a fine of up to $100,000.
Thanks, Christina. I'll take it from here. And I don't know about anybody else, but it sounds to me like Angelica is lucky that a year is the max that they can potentially get. And if we're being honest, we all know that it's very unlikely that they will end up getting the max. That's just usually not the way it turns out, especially in San Francisco, California, to a transgender person. Very likely not gonna happen. But in my personal opinion, and if it was left up to me, I think that the judges should throw the book at them with no mercy. Really make an example of a couple of these people, give them the maximum sentence with no chance for early release, no good behavior, nothing like that. You get sentenced to a year, you do your full year in the male prison, because while you may identify as a woman, you are a male, so you belong in the male prison. Because this is illegal even in California. A lot of people don't know that because they don't choose to enforce it, but let me tell you this. It is illegal to threaten a law enforcement officer in San Francisco as it violates California state law. Threats can be charged under various statutes. And then it gives the different statutes, and then it says with potential penalties, including jail time and hefty fines, depending on the specifics of the threat. I think that these people should be charged with the full weight of the law, and not only because what they're doing is illegal, but because with everything that's happened lately, like Minneapolis, like Nashville, like several others, there is good reason to take these people seriously and think that they're going to make good on these threats. I think that that's being proven more and more every day. And I don't mean just trans people, but I just mean in general, people from the left are doing this. But when it comes to trans specifically, there has been an uptick in trans people committing acts of violence. And in my opinion, news stations like this one really are encouraging that behavior and enabling that behavior by downplaying it and pretending that it's not happening the way that it's happening. First off, to be 100% honest, when you start off with the she and the her and really play into that as a news station, I don't really know if you should be considered a news station, because not only is it signaling bias, but there's also the fact that it's just not biologically correct. And I think we should be able to expect our news stations to just address people as what they are. If you want to say a male identifying as a female, say it loud, say it clearly, make sure they all hear it, and maybe address them that way for the rest of the news story so everybody understands exactly what it is you're saying. Now, say people are too liberal for that, and they say that that's overkill. All right, then say it once very clearly, that this is a male that identifies as a female. No more of the trans woman talk. Just admit that this is a male that's behaving like a man right now. All right, too much editorializing? I can accept that. So how about at the very least, instead of pretending like Angelica and people like Angelica were just arrested for protesting, for exercising their First Amendment rights as Americans, why not list the charges that Angelica is actually accused of so that people know that it's more than just protesting on the sidewalk that Angelica is accused of? Because what Angelica is accused of sounds pretty serious to me, no matter how you identify. And that's the real reason that I say that, in my opinion, news stations like this really should be shut down. Because people like Angelica will know that even if they end up getting busted, even if they end up getting in trouble, even if they get arrested, news stations like this will still lie and cover for them. And I know some people will be like, well, this happened in San Francisco and that was San Francisco news. I get that. It's Bay Area news, so of course they're going to be biased and extra sensitive towards trans or LGBTQ. But at the same time, do they not have a journalistic responsibility to actually give us the facts of the story that they're supposed to be reporting on? Is that not a part of journalistic standards, that you would give the full story and not make it sound like this person's rights have just been completely violated and there's nothing else to the story? Because to me, not only does that seem deceptive to leave it out, but also I do think it encourages these people to continue to assault and be violent towards ICE and law enforcement in general. There has been a 1,000% increase in violence on ICE. Why do you think that's happening? Maybe it's because they know that people in their area are going to stand up for them, and they also know that the local news is going to do their best to obscure that information from the public as well. Where if people had to live with their decisions, actually take responsibility for them, and know that the news was going to report on what was actually going on and not make the average person think that their rights had just been violated. Because if all you did was hear that local news story, and say you're just very much against Fox News, you don't like Fox News, you think they're the devil, you don't ever want to hear anything from them. If what Fox News said is factually correct, should the local news not give that same information so that people know what exactly it is they're supporting or what it is they're being up in arms over? So that is the reason that, in my opinion, news stations like this should be forced to either be shut down or just admit that they're not actually a news station, and that's not actually a news broadcast. It is a TV station that identifies as a news station. It is a TV program that identifies as news, but it is neither of those two things. Because even if you're sensitive to transgender, even if you're sympathetic to illegal immigration, call me old-fashioned, but I think the facts of the story are still the facts of the story. And if you're going to call yourself a news station or a news channel, you should definitely be willing to give those at the very least. And that's where I'm at on it. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you want to see a video of me talking about the most heinous crime that a trans person has committed recently, a story that was even hard for me to do, click the video on your screen. Other than that, as always, thank you for watching. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.